Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bucs Bounty alongside Michael McKenry. I am Stephen Brault, and joining us, the most special guest, the 33rd year of his 33rd year of his career as voice of the Pittsburgh Pirates, Greg Brown, joining us. Greg, thank you so much for coming with us. We're all in Texas right now. We're all in the same hotel, getting ready for this series against the Rangers. But Greg, I would just love to hear your perspective on things as we start this. How do you feel about the Pirates so far compared to Pirates teams that you've seen in the past? Let's just start there.
Well, first of all, Stephen, I'm not going to go any further. I mean, that's high praise. You just said the most special guest. I know you're a
Yeah,
sincere human. The most
Yeah,
special guest ever on Bucks Bounty, or as of today? Let's be
I
clear.
would say in the last 24 hours, the Bucks Bounty has
yeah,
definitely
yeah,
not
yeah.
had a more special guest than Greg. No,
Or a
no, this
guest,
is
It,
or a guest at all. So
or any
as we're
or any.
clear,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and if we ever
thank
had
you.
a 10-year-old broadcaster, I mean, he started when he was 10. I mean, think about
Yeah,
I
that's
that.
know,
true.
right? It's pretty
33 years,
That
he's
amazing.
is,
Yeah,
43 years old. I mean, it's special.
it's
Prodigy.
crazy.
Yeah.
And I had to learn obviously at a very young age. A lot of learning
Yes.
in the broadcast business to be that young. But how things are going. I mean, you guys know it, Stephen and Fort. It's been unbelievable. It's so good. It's so much fun. Now, the last time we felt this in the broadcast booth, you guys were on the field playing. So I'm glad that you get a chance to experience what we experience in the booth and how
right.
you get to break things down. Because as you know, the last several years since you guys have been doing this, no secret, it becomes an unbelievable challenge. Now, I've
That
said
is very
to
true.
folks on our crew over the many years, whoever it might be, Adam, Jason, Pete, this is no great shakes, but as the year goes on, it gets tough. I said, hunker down, everybody, because this is why we get paid. It to try and figure out ways to keep an audience engaged, look for the stories. That's kind of a fun part. Uh, a little secret is that when a team wins, everybody looks and sounds better. That's just the way it
It's
is
a
in
good point.
sports.
It's a good
Um,
point.
it's so funny because in 13, 14, 15, I'll never forget, we had it might have been after the 13 season, but every year we would go to uh, Seven Springs and do a radio network affiliate seminar for like 2 or 3 days. And one day included a little Q&A with the announcing team. And there were, I don't know, maybe 50 affiliates out there, some general managers, some sales managers, and so on that carry our games. And our team president went up there and introduced us, the panel. And he got up there and he said, "We just got back from the owners' meetings in New York." And he said, "I got to tell you how proud I am of this announcer that we have, Greg Brown. I had so many people coming up and telling me what an outstanding announcer we have." And, people applauded. And I thought to myself, and I smiled, I said, "That's very nice, but I've been doing this a long time. Uh, 13 was not my first year. Now, what's the common thread? We were
Right?
winning in 13.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the Pirates have a really good announcer. Everybody, and it happens with every sport, when you win, you sound better. And it's a lot more fun. So, yeah, I'm having a time of my life right now.
And Brownie, before we dive into actually what's happening on the field, walk us through your thoughts during the offseason. I mean, because this is year 9 for me. I didn't start when I was 10, so I'm actually 41. But like watching this unfold, and we talked about it a little bit during the offseason, like you could feel the difference. You could literally see that they were trying to go after every free agent available, at least the top one. How'd that resonate with you? Because you've been here a long time, and I don't know if that's ever been the case. Maybe it has, and I'm mistaken. But it seems like they pushed their chips all in for maybe the first time in their way, right? Because we always say if you have to spend your own money, it's a little bit different because who would you spend it on? I think they nailed it.
Well, yeah, and I now actually for and Stephen, I've debated with some general managers over the years. I get it. And one of my favorite people to this day is Neil Huntington. He was just he treated everybody with such great respect, and I appreciated knowing the parameters and the limitations that faced him, and how he helped really turn the franchise around. And Ben Cherington's doing it again. Uh, but I I know I have said in the past, and as you know, uh, uh, sometimes I guess I get outside uh, my area maybe of expertise, because I've had some people say, and I understand it, like, you're an announcer, go announce, like, stay in your lane. But
Yeah,
but
but you
but I
bleed
can't
it.
help myself.
Yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
can't help myself. So when given the opportunity, and when I can talk to folks like that and they're willing to listen, I have strongly believed that even if you don't internally believe that you're going to land a free agent or a player over the winter, I have always felt strongly, I've said this to others, is that I don't care. Try, even if
Yes.
it sounds crazy, go out there and sell hope. Sell hope,
Hmm.
and that's one of the things they did. Now, the Schwarber thing was legit. I mean, they really did offer Schwarber, and people said, "Oh, who are the Pirates doing?" Pirates got ripped nationally. I'll never forget some of the guys on radio and TV that just ripped the Pirates to shreds for suggesting that they could get Kyle Schwarber. Who the Pirates think they are? But they dove into the deep waters for the first time in such a long time, and I think that was the start of things. Schwarber goes back to, the Reds also made an offer. He goes back to the Phillies, but I think that drew a lot of attention, and maybe that's when we knew things were going to be different this offseason. And then the big trade, I mean, a brilliant trade.
Yeah.
The 3-team deal. Like, gosh darn,
Maybe one of the best of
I
all
always,
time, right?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
When you think of, again, given the limitations and the parameters, but for me, that's really the first time I saw Charrington and his whole team. Yeah, I mean, I know this has been going on internally since they, were on board, and maybe we don't see the fruits of their labors. But this, you look at it, you go, "Wow!" You talk about creative, and all the people that were involved in that in the organization to get that done. Man, I was really on board with that. And then the free agent signings, the under the radar, that's a big price tag for Gregory Soto, for basically a setup man to get 3 outs. And then the O'Hearn, biggest free agent multi-year deal since Liriano, or no,
yeah.
Nova. And
Nova,
anyway, so
Ivan
yeah,
Nova.
they just kept adding and adding, and I think there were so many people excited. And as I went out and did some appearances over the winter, you could feel it.
Hmm.
You guys could feel it, I know. And so they sold hope, and uh you can't cheat the fans of Pittsburgh. You can't fool them. uh, they knew this was legit, and I think that's another reason why everybody was bought in.
Yeah, I agree with that. Two things that really stand out to me about that as we go into talking about a little more specifics with the Pirates. One, at the beginning of last year, how much we were talking about winning in the margins, and that
Oh,
to me put out a message of like, we aren't a very good team, we're going to have to win in the small parts of the game in order to win games. And that whole narrative is just gone this year. The idea this year is we're just going to beat teams, we're just going to be better than other teams. And I think that instills a lot of confidence. But think about that trade specifically as you go into these stats right now. Pirates sixth in batting average, fourth in OPS, seventh in runs scored, sixth in home runs. Okay. So in that trade for one pitcher in Mike Burrows, you got Brandon Lau, who's one of the league leaders in home runs, and you got Jake Mangum, who has done incredibly well in the small play time that he's gotten, hit over 400 in that last homestand. And then on the pitching side, in that trade, this team right now is second in ERA, fourth in home runs allowed. And Mason Montgomery has been, he started out rough his first two outings, but man, as he turned a corner and he throws a lot of pitches, but he gets a lot of strikeouts. He has been really effective in turning that bullpen to the back end. And that trade just blows my mind that you got those three
yep.
guys who are such a big part of why this team has been successful already this year for Mike Burrows, who, don't get me wrong, is a very good young pitcher. But the fact that you can get that much production out of a trade where you only lose him is incredible. I mean, right now, Greg, would you say that the team is meeting your expectations on the offensive side, or are they exceeding your expectations, specifically on the offense side right now?
I just, for a feel, Stephen, it's exceeding my expectations. And that's a great point about, frankly, mediocre and bad teams. You know you're a bad team, not a competitive team, when you start to hear those narratives. We need to win within
Right.
those margins. We need to the one-run games narrative. They're so close. No, that's ridiculous. Those one-run losses mean nothing, nothing from one year to the next. I've heard that before, over and over again.
Right.
Heck, I've spewed it myself. Oh, look how close we are. Has nothing to do with being close. Uh, what matters is that their plus minus the run differential is up to like 23 or 25
25.
runs, 25 3 weeks into the season. So that number is exceeding my expectations. But all of it, as I felt the offense was going to be better once they brought those guys in, because I thought it would obviously spread out the lineup, and I really believed that it would benefit Cruz and Reynolds, and it has. And now, as I watch these other teams and other pitching staffs try and navigate through, you just see how they're trying to navigate through the Pirates lineup, something that we've not had to think about. They've not had to think about for years. We, on the other side, have always looked at the other team's lineup and go, boy, how can you get around this guy? Man, that's a deep nine. The Pirates have that now, maybe with an exception or two, but it's a great team effort.
Brownie, I want to round out that offensive chat and talk about Oneil Cruz and Connor Griffin. And I think when you think about those two players, it kind of puts our offense into a category that's different, right? Because we saw Mangum and Connor Griffin lay down beautiful bunts. We've bunted better this year. We were the worst bunting team in all of baseball last year. Absolutely horrendous. But we can steal, we can run, we can hit homers, and we also walk a lot. So we have a lot of different ways to beat you. I mean, we're not a one-trick pony. I think that's what makes us so special. But I also want you to dive into the bench. This is the best bench I've seen in 9 years because it's true. It's a true bench, and I don't think you win in the playoffs. I don't think you win a lot of ball games, those one-run ball games, without having guys like Billy Cook who can come in and run, play better defense. Mangum to come in, play better defense, run, and take a really tough at bat. Just go a little bit into that in the sense of like they didn't just nail the trade and get the big bat. They also added really good pieces, even the young pieces they added. Like me and Steven talk all the time. Gonzalez and York are great bench players because their approach, but they're also very athletic and can move around the diamond. That's something when they started to piece that together, I was like, okay, they're real now. Because you can trade and it looks good. The PR is great, but are they putting together a team? And this team's really come together.
Yeah, Ford, I guess not that I would push back on that.
Yeah.
I well, the only I say is two things. Number one, uh, this is the old school in me and the Bob Walk in me, is that now that it's an American League game, your bench is not nearly as important as it was
Agreed.
when the pitchers
But you might
batted.
want to have a
So
good one, right?
might as well it's better to have a good one than a bad one. So far, it's been good,
Yeah.
but I think as the season goes on, it's asking a lot of young players for Nick York and Nick Gonzalez to be coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Um, this is not Michael A. Taylor coming off the bench. This is not Rowdy Tellez coming off the bench, which those are two players who were regulars, might have been better served off the bench. Veterans. It's just hard to ask guys like Nick or Billy Cook. I mean, my goodness, that's a heck of a thing to ask. So far, it's great. And I don't think the Pirates, by the way, have much of an alternative, because at some point
Agreed.
you do have to sacrifice something, because they
Yeah.
went all in with the other stuff. So you can't just say, oh, let's get a bunch of veterans to be on the bench. That's not possible, given,
Right.
again, the parameters. You can't be the Dodgers. It's impossible. But so far, I agree with you. So far, it's great that they have guys. Mangum seems to be the kind of guy that could actually thrive in this just because of his approach. And maybe you're right too, Fort, that maybe it's just the approach of the other guys that will serve them well off the bench. I think I'm cautiously optimistic. but I will also be kind of, watching and waiting. The good thing for me is, for the most part this year, which has also changed, is it drove me crazy to bring guys up and bounce them around. One day they're playing left, one day they're playing center. And the narrative was, man, we really need to have a bunch of guys that can play different positions and be athletic. Like, what? The best teams are the ones that have a third baseman, shortstop, second baseman, first baseman, center. They lock it in. Those are the best. Look at the Atlanta Braves over the years, the Phillies. The best teams know what their position. They're not bouncing from first to second to short. No, they're not. So I think that's, maybe the reason why they end up having guys like Gonzalez and York on the bench, because for the most part, they have everyday players.
Real quick, Steven. I think what has boggled my mind is how good the communication is. Because whether you're a veteran or a rookie, someone's going to have to do it, right? And I think because maybe Donnie played that role and a lot of these coaches played that tough role, they've communicated it well. And even the bullpen, Soto's been set up perfectly when he's come in. Santana as well. They're kind of going back and forth. But even on the bench side, Joey Bart starts against lefties. You have Nick York and Nick Gonzalez, who played the other day. Lau sat on the bench. And it's because the matchup and the bat path to the pitch profile, it's all matching up. They're looking and trying to set these guys up better than I've seen over 9 years. This isn't even close. These guys are getting put in better opportunities. That's kind of what I'm saying. But you're right. It is kind of that question mark. And that's why I always bring it up, because every team I was on that was really good, dating back to even college, had a good bench. And sometimes it was just them knowing their role. Like Billy Cook, you're going to run bases, you're going to carry the cone, and you're going to play some outfield. And then when you come in,
Oh man,
have the best
I
at bat
agree
you
with that.
possibly can.
I mean, the way
And that's
approach,
different for me.
his approach and his attitude. I mean, my gosh, what a teammate.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
right, 100%, man. And when he's in there, I love the way he plays the game. And when he's on the bench, I love the way he supports his teammates. He
Yeah.
is phenomenal. I mean, prime example of a great teammate and somebody that you want to have on this team. 100% agree with that.
Yeah, I think it was a really good sign. That last game on Sunday, O'Hearn and Lau were not in the lineup. Those two guys that have been that free agents you brought in, or a trade and a free agent you brought in, that have both been a huge part of the offense. The fact that you could sit both those guys, actually give them a day off, and still feel better about this lineup, I think it shows a lot. And the team ends up winning that game because you get a great start from Mitch
Uh,
Keller, and you get enough offense to be able to win that game. I think that is a big, big sign that, like you said, this team is a lot deeper than we have seen in past years. There's no question about that. And
and Steven,
quick
that
about,
that is the
yeah,
key. That is the key. They won that game. They
right.
won that game. That is why that game was so huge. And Don Kelly talked about how important Mitch Keller was. All the combination of everything to win that series. Important final game of a homestand with the bench guys, the so-called Sunday lineup, and they win that game. So important.
We talked to those guys about your changeup. Can you tell us about how you develop that? Is that something you tinker with often?
Oh yeah, minor leagues just each level I've thrown it more and more. Got a double A and it was like, all right, like I need a pitch to kind of get me out of stuff, kind of get me sync back up, and that's the changeup for me. It's like when I'm kind of spraying it with the fastball, slider, like whatever. Like changeup is my kind of get back pitch. Like it just syncs the body up. Like for whatever reason, but it does. I think last year in Indy, all those guys were like, hey, like look, man, you're close to the big leagues. Like you probably need to start getting used to this pitch. Like it's gonna be a good pitch. And so in Indy last year, I started throwing it. And that was just kind of a nice confidence boost. And came back into this year, with a lot of confidence with it. And I have the command with it, which is nice. But yeah, and then up here in the big leagues, like it's got good results. So yeah, but yeah, it's definitely a pitch that it's a field pitch.
Catch the next Bucs BP show presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Pittsburgh.
Exactly.
Let's go to the starting pitching really quick, Greg. So this is, this has been really impressive to see all these guys, homegrown especially, that they have been able to be so effective early in the season. We've talked a little bit about how, as the year goes on, the question becomes innings limits and how long you can get these guys to go. If we're going to see a consistent buildup, or if we're going to have to see these guys start to slow down a little bit. I'm curious to see that as the season goes on. But for now, this rotation has the second best ERA in baseball. And really, they're only behind the Braves, who have been a huge surprise. That they've had a really high success from Bryce Elder, who's struggled, Grant Holmes, who's been pretty good, and then Martin Perez has been fantastic for them to start the year, actually. But other than maybe the Mariners, it's hard to say that there's a better starting pitching staff in Major League Baseball right now than what the Pirates have been putting out with all these power, big right-handed arms. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And it's one of the great storylines to watch. It's one of the fun challenges for us. I mean, we can watch it. It's got to be nerve-wracking for Don Kelly and Bill Murphy and all the baseball people to try to figure this out, navigate through a long baseball season. I'm sure they have it all, planned out, but because there has to be some limitation on each guy. They got to be looking down the road at Jared Jones. How does he fit in? Um, and that's why it's important for every game, I believe, for every game you get an extra inning out of Mitch Keller. The fact that he could go, a seventh inning for the first time this season, a Pirate pitcher goes 7 innings. And I'll be anxious to watch Paul Skeens' next start because of the rain shortened game. I can imagine Skeens is chomping at the bit to get out there and not give
Yeah.
6, 7, maybe 8, maybe 9. Because those pitchers, when they go out there, that's what they're thinking. I'm going to give that bullpen a day off when I can. Uh, now, certain guys like Ashcraft and Bubba Chandler don't have that luxury because they will be limited. But one day they get a huge lead, and you can shorten their outing. Next day you need them to go 6, 7. Every day is important, but yeah, the starting pitching, it's phenomenal to watch, to think about what the Pirates have built. And that's key too, Stephen. When we talk about the offseason additions, Bob Nutting has emphasized this, as has Ben Cherington. It's not just that you did make that big trade and you added those free agents. It's that they have built this from the ground up, that
Right.
they have built this homegrown rotation. And all this coming together at this time makes for just a fascinating story.
And Brownie, we have the only homegrown pitching staff in all of baseball in the major leagues. I want to talk about a guy and give you a little bit
That's
of
so
props. You
cool.
hate it, and that's why I'm doing it, because you hate when people give you compliments. You said Majinski 3 years ago should be a starter. Well, guess what? He's done it, and he's thriving. And you didn't bring his name up, and guys are going to protect, but he's going to be in uncharted waters as well, even though he kind of floated back and forth last year. That inning total is going to get up past where he's ever been. What are your expectations for him? Last time we saw him with the opener, it worked out extremely well. He's going to pitch today. We're in Texas. It's Tuesday. But this dude completely revamped his entire arsenal and came out and was a different guy as a starter in August than he was when he started the season in April. And it's just changed everything.
Well, yeah, my feelings about Majinski are, first of all, I love a guy that wants the baseball and wants to be a
Yeah.
starter. I mean, and wants it so badly that he goes to the staff 2 years ago and says, I want to be a starter, and they give him that opportunity, and he does it last year for several starts, and people go back to the splits, and yeah, he's a better reliever. He's a better reliever, which boggles my mind, that mindset. Uh, Man, if you can get a guy to start and be a starter, I want a better starter, a guy that has the arsenal that can do it. And then he goes and he does it with class. He goes down there to the minor leagues, gets built up, comes back as a reliever. They look at it in the offseason. You talk about last year, how he added a couple of pitches to help him navigate through a lineup more than just once so that he can go back and start. To the Pirates' credit, they quietly go about letting him be one of the 5 guys, and I think he's just so determined to want to
Yeah.
go out there and be a horse. Uh, and I see no reason why he can't finish the season as a starting pitcher. I think it is again going to be fascinating to see what they do when Jones comes back. Are they going to do a piggyback thing? I know there is concern, if that's the right word, that they don't yet have a true bulk guy in the
Yeah.
bullpen. I think, like, for me, we go back to these young bench guys. Wilbur Dotel looks to me like the perfect guy for that, at least to start it. If you need a, and yeah, I know he needs to be a starter. He's a prospect, but guess what?
No,
The
I agree.
Pirates are
We're
in a
trying to
race.
win.
Pirates are in a
Yeah.
pennant race.
Woo!
I don't need to hear about prospects. I'm
That's
sorry.
right.
You're a
They die
prospect
when
and
they
you
come
can
to the
help
big
this
leagues.
team win.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yep.
And so we'll see how that goes. But back to Majinski, I think he's a great story. I think Fort and Steven, what the reason I was so interested in having him start, I looked at, he came up to the big leagues, and I see, but they drafted him first round out of a big time college program, starting pitcher, real good one, South Carolina, comes to the minor leagues, and he starts for a couple years, and then someone, I don't know who, in the minor league says, he'd be better as a reliever. Why? His command's no good. I'm not privy
Yeah.
to this, but
Hypothesizing.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that's probably what's happened because it goes on in every organization. Somebody has this grand idea that he'd be a better reliever uh, because that command's no good. They gave him 2 years to become a starting pitcher in the minor leagues. It used to take 5+ years to build up to
Yeah.
figure things out in the minor leagues before they change you. And so they change him to reliever, and he gets through the lineup once, and he starts going up through the minor leagues, and then into the big leagues. He's a reliever. He's a real good reliever. He can help us in that role. Guess what? You know what can really help us in this role? Start. Give us 5 and 6 innings and let other people relieve.
I agree with that. And it's cool to see that transition that he used when he went back down to AAA.
Mm-hmm.
He comes back in the bullpen, but he didn't go back to what he was as a reliever,
Yeah.
right? He didn't start spinning the ball like crazy again. It's funny to think that's what Majinski was. He was a spin guy. He threw the sweeper, he threw a cutter. Everything was moving in towards lefties. Now his main weapons are all moving in towards righties, the sinker and the splitter. And he's basically gotten rid of a sweeper. He doesn't throw a cutter. Instead, he's just using that four-seam fastball and curveball combination, which has been so good for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it really shows a lot from him. I will be honest with you. There was a time in my career in which I was asked, Steven, would you rather go down to AAA and continue being a starter, or would you rather stay in the big leagues and be a reliever? And I took the be a reliever and stay in the big leagues option because
Yeah.
at that time in my career, I just knew I needed to be in the big leagues, right? And so the fact that he had the confidence in himself to be able to go back down and be a starter and build himself up that way, it takes so many like guts and belief in yourself. And
Balls.
I think that we're starting to see that. Yeah, we're starting to see that out on the mound a lot. But this perfectly transitions to what we're going to talk about next, Greg. You brought up that middle relief of the bullpen. The bullpen for the Pirates at the back end of it has been obviously fantastic with what we ended up getting as Matson 7, Soto as 8, and Santana as 9. Really, that's been the main setup. Soto and Santana have flipped. Matson hasn't given up a run in his last 12 outings out of the bullpen. He only gave up 2 runs his first outing. Since then, he's been perfect. Soto strikes out the world. Santana has done a fantastic job in his role. But that middle part of the bullpen has been obviously in flux. We had Hunter Barco and Jose Urquidy at the beginning. Urquidy did not work out in his few outings. Barco was a little bit shaky back and forth. Brought up Cam Sanders and Evan Sisk. Cam Sanders comes up. He has a tough outing, his first outing. He just gets sent right back down to AAA. Yohan Ramirez has been the big story here. So I want to hear from you as somebody who we've talked about Yohan Ramirez before, and obviously it's easy to say that, oh, he's such a happy guy and he's just such a great clubhouse guy. But like you said, the Pirates are in a pennant race. That is less important than having productive players. And Yohan Ramirez has turned himself into an incredibly productive long bullpen arm. He threw almost 7 innings in this last road or homestand. I mean, he's been throwing a crazy amount. Eating the 3 innings in that extra inning game, very difficult to do. But he's been great. What have you seen from Yohan Ramirez that maybe other pitchers that come up and try to fill that role you think can take lessons from to try to really improve the length of this bullpen?
Well, first of all, go back to that kind of almost under the radar because it was a lost game the other day, and you guys can speak to it
Right.
better than anybody. You as a reliever, Stephen Brault, you, Michael McKenry, as a catcher. But I was fascinated watching it from the broadcast booth because I went back and on the, on my laptop, looked at the pitching logs the last 5 years of this guy. 44 pitches, 3 innings. He was gassed. He had nothing
Yeah.
left, but he was out there looking for those last outs. What does that do to a pitching coach, a manager, teammates, knowing this guy's out there giving it everything he's got, the last leg, knowing there's nobody else out there? I just, man, I love the guy anyway. In terms of the role, I personally think he's best suited, and he's out of character if you have to use him later in ball games for an inning in a tight game. I think he's
Right.
best suited for a game where short start, we got to get somebody up. We do need. I'd love to see them build him up to be a bulk guy because I think his stuff plays beyond just 1 inning. And he's shown that. He's shown two, and now heck, he's went 3 innings the other day. But I think I think you need just more than one. And this also goes back. It's all part and parcel to the starting pitching. If you can get 6 on almost every night, that's why starting pitching is so critical. Then everything else falls into place. You do have the Matson, Soto, Santana, three-headed monster, and then you also do have the Montgomery, and you've got whoever one or two other guys might be. But for me, Ramirez absolutely plays a role. I think ideally, again, I'm going to keep harping on it. I'd rather have a guy go 6. That's more important for me, at least 6, than, just 2 times through the lineup. And if that's entering the 6th, get him out. No, keep him in.
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
get 6. Let's get those. That's the critical part. That's the window they're looking for, I think. What does that 6th inning look like? And if it's Santana and Wilbur Dotel, whoever it might be, but that's the one maybe area I think that needs kind of tweaked or fixed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of
just
funny that
really
you.
quick, Michael.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say I think people often think of long relievers as guys who are going to be throwing in games, trash innings, right? When the game is super,
Mhm.
you're either winning by a lot or you're losing by a lot. But in today's game, because of the way pitch counts are used, we've seen it already a bunch of times. Sometimes a starting pitcher is going to throw a ton of pitches in 4 innings, but still not give up any runs. So then you need a good long reliever to give you 2 innings to bridge that gap because you're still trying to win that game. It's not like you're losing by 5 at that point. And that's what I think Yohan Ramirez has been so good at. Just wanted to throw that in there. Michael, please go.
No. I think that's perfectly said. I think it's funny that those bridge innings are so important. We live in Pittsburgh. And the fact is, Jones is going to give us a huge jolt, right? Because, I mean, the reality of it is Jones is probably going to go to the bullpen. We don't know that for sure, but he could be that swing guy to give Bubba a 4-inning start and come in and throw 3 to 4 and then get that rest and come back in.
Yes.
Last year when they were doing that, I hated it at first because I was like, what do the guys think about this? But at the end of the day,
Right.
the way it worked out and the way that they got to learn watching these guys manipulate their usage start to start because they understand I got to get the out right here because they're bullpen guys. I think there's so much value in it. But let's move on from that.
Man, I
Before
just
this-
love it. I just love that thought, though. I love the thought of because Majinski was that guy. Like, so who is it?
Right.
How cool would it be to have Yohan Ramirez and I'm going to go back to it sounds like I'm lobbying for him, Wilbur Dotel or somebody like
Somebody
that.
like that. Yeah, I love that.
We can call one of them Rachel Carson. We can call the other guy Andy Warhol.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, that's done.
The bridges,
Yeah, we'll have
baby.
a bridge and a picture of both of them right here.
Oh
There you go.
man,
Yeah.
can you imagine pictures of Rachel Carson and Andy
Yeah.
Warhol on the caps?
Yes, just right with the bridge in between. They're just bridging the gap, baby. So
No one destroys a baseball like Oneil Cruz. That is the hardest hit ball in known Major League history.
Pitchers should consider themselves warned.
And it is gone! There's a Cruz missile!
Log in with your cable provider and stream the Pirates all season long on SNP 360.
I truly believed, and I don't know why this feeling hit me so hard at the beginning of the season. I was like, this is Oneil Cruz's year. I just felt like everything he went through, you look at 24, really put it together, especially in that second half, dominated. All the hype he got around the home run derby, the World Baseball Classic. I was like, this is it. He's got to just break out and break loose. This guy is a freak. Brownie, 3 weeks ago, me and Steven did a podcast. It said, pretty much calm down. I don't remember the name of the podcast, but everybody's freaking out. This guy sucks. Just get rid of him. Ah! They're not saying that anymore. Is he finally doing it in your mind? I mean, he's doing so many good things, but what are you seeing? Me and Steven talk about it all the time. If he does it, you also have another superhuman in Griffin. That's why I like those bookends. Brought it up earlier. And then how good our bench is. But this guy, he can carry your team for a week, 2 weeks. He did it for 12 days.
Well, was I one on that podcast saying what you were just saying? Was I the guy?
Maybe, yes.
No.
Yes, you are.
No,
I was like, that Greg Brown. Stop it, Greg.
After opening day, I sure was thinking about it. But some people get on me on social media because they think I get on Oneil Cruz too much. And the reason I get on Oneil Cruz too much is because I get so frustrated because he is otherworldly. He has the ability to be the guy, and we're talking historic names in Pirates history. I won't name the names, but he absolutely has the ability. We see it to be one of the greatest players in the history of the Pittsburgh Pirates. He is the aircraft carrier type that almost every team needs and you watch when he does go through the stretches. And what I really like right now is, watching 3 days ago, he had a game where I think he struck out 3 times. They were, I don't know who,
0 for
what
5.
pitchers were. Okay, he was over 5. I think 3 strikeouts, and I think one. I don't know who it was. Either it's like 3 straight breaking balls, swung and missed pitches nowhere near the zone, and walked away. And there was one strikeout where he's caught looking with 2 fastballs down the middle. I'm going in my mind. I'm going, uh-oh, here we are. This is exactly what we saw all of last year in that bad place. But man, the next day, he so I don't know what that is. You know better than I do for it, and Steven, but to make that course correction and not fall into that slump that you see him can go not just days and weeks, but a month. That's critical. He's going to have his peaks and valleys, of course, but you don't want it to go through long stretches. And because of that, you know, pitchers are still now. This is the other thing about him. He's the guy in that lineup that if he's in the hole or on deck, every pitcher, every team has to think about. They have to look at that lineup card. The manager and the bench coach, you can see him in the dugout looking. Okay, there's Cruz. What do you do here?
They have to
Get
worry
up in the
about their
bullpen.
life.
Get him up. Everything. Yes. Their life is on the line here.
They better throw it in
That's what's
tight.
It's so great about Cruz, and to see him being walked intentionally by
Yes.
left-handed pitching. It's like, wow, how far we've come. And this is all, and the impact that has on a lineup and what that does. And it creates chaos in the other dugout and in that bullpen. That's the impact he has.
And real quick, Joe Block tweeted this: 1,652 plate appearances. Bonds, 64 homers. Cruz, 66 RBIs. Bonds, 161. Cruz, 217. Average 260 to 236. Slugging, they're almost the same. And stolen bases, Cruz has 2 less than Barry Bonds at the same exact time. That kind of puts it in perspective how good he really has been, and he hadn't been at his best. And the last thing is, I can't wait for the day that we watch Connor Griffin and Oneil Cruz be the 1-2 punch in the Pittsburgh Pirates lineup. That's my man,
with Paul Skeens on the mound. With Paul Skeens on the mound.
And Seth
starting
Hernandez
tomorrow,
right behind him.
And starting tomorrow for the Pirates is Seth Hernandez. Here are the probables.
Yeah.
Skeens
Oh my
today,
gosh.
Seth Hernandez tomorrow.
You know that gif where Homer Simpson walks back into the bush? That's
Yeah,
gonna be
into the
baseball.
bushes. Yeah.
Another definition of another meaning for bushes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, push it daddy.
Yes, yeah. Opposite ends.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Oh, it's so good.
You know, it's funny seeing the way Oneil Cruz has kind of turned things around so early in the season because it's easy to say that at the beginning of the year, that first game, it's a bigger story that he wasn't that he did poorly, right? It's a bigger story. It's easier, especially for national media, to harp on, oh, the Pirates doing Pirates
Yeah,
things, and Oneil Cruz is not good in center field, and that's why they lost this game. And he has been a disappointment from last year. It's going to happen again this year, you know. And it's so easy to do the negative story. And it's funny how when things turn around, now the Pirates are the MLB power rankings. What do they mean? Who really knows? However, right now the Pirates are fifth in the MLB power rankings out of all of baseball. And I think a really fun part of that is that also the Reds and the Cubs and the Brewers are all in the top 10 there.
that
And the Cardinals
division, man.
also
Woo.
are 3 games over 500, but
That
but
is
they
that is
haven't.
so
They're not on
unbelievable,
that list.
Steven. That is
Right.
so unbelievable to look at that list there and to see the Pittsburgh Pirates fifth in Major League
I know.
Baseball, because there are a bunch of people that actually dive into numbers and look at projections and see what's been like this. They don't just on a whim go, oh, let's see, I like these. No, they take
No.
time
Yeah,
these power rankings. That's unbelievable. Like I saw that yesterday. I couldn't believe it. By the
so should
way,
we call
going
it the
back to
khaki
Oneil
rankings?
Cruz. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Good. Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, so going back to the point about Oneil Cruz and opening day, I'm going to go back and talk about the Pirates manager because I've said before, he is so good, Don Kelly. I think he's a hybrid between Chuck Tanner and Jim Leland. I think he has
Ooh,
many of the
Ooh.
aspects of
that's a
two of
really,
these
really good
guys.
comparison.
And he just quietly benches Oneil Cruz. The day after that, as a left-hander on the mound, day two of the regular season, he benches Oneil Cruz. Does it without fanfare. Does it, I'm sure, behind the scenes. Lesson learned. Talk to him about. And Cruz has been way better defensively. By the way, now he had the sunglasses on the next day. Lesson learned. He had lost that ball in the sun opening day in New York, and teammates have picked him up. But I think those are the little things that Don Kelly does. Go back to what you guys said too, Fort, about him being that type of utility player that he was, that he knows you need everybody, you need everyone to be all in, pulling uh, that rope all together. And they are all in, and Oneil Cruz has been all in. I've been amazed at the maturity level, the little bumps that he's had out in left field and right field, the mini argument that he had a little over a week ago with Ryan O'Hearn. Look at his approach now on fly balls to right center field and left center field. He looks like now a 10-year veteran out there in center field, how he's approaching
Yep,
the
communication.
arm wave. I got it. I mean, it's fascinating to watch.
He looks like that kid off the Bad News Bears that goes and catches everything.
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's outstanding.
But
Yeah,
that's what we're seeing. I think everybody knows at this point when you talk to the as guys like us, we get to go and we talk to the players and the respect they have for Donnie. It's real. It's very real.
Mm.
And I think you bring up a good point in mixing those guys because one thing that Donnie does really well is instead of roasting people in front of the team, when he needs to have serious discussions, he has one-on-one discussions with players. But he's not like a nice guy in those instances. He tells what needs to be told. And I think when you see Donnie on TV, it's easy to see him as, oh, he's a nice guy, you know, he's pretty chill, all that stuff. And he is. And I think that really works for the team. But when he needs to lay down the law, he does it. But he does it in a respectful way that makes the players really, truly believe in him and want to play for him and play well for him. And I think that goes a long way in why we're seeing a lot of these players play better. Two things: you have a manager that you really care about, you really respect and trust, and secondly, you have a lineup that makes it so that guys like Oneil Cruz and Brian Reynolds aren't being pitched around every time that they come up to the plate, because you can't pitch around them because you got to deal with O'Hearn and Lau, and now Ozuna has started picking it up. It is amazing to see what difference signing those guys yes, makes for the offense as a whole because of the numbers that they bring. But Greg, what does that change for the players who are already here who now get to benefit from those guys being in the lineup?
Well, I think right away, Stephen, that they knew. I mean, the players that were here, they're as much of fans, bigger fans, frankly, than we are because they're their tail is on the line. They want to win, and so when those transactions are happening, they're like, yes, they couldn't wait to get to spring training. You knew it as soon as day one, the report date. You just the air of confidence, the way they walked around. Um, and it goes back to, I'll keep repeating, Don Kelly, when he came on board here, there's just a whole different sense because you use the word real. He is real. And I've said before, you can fool a lot of people, but you know who you can't fool? Baseball players. They've got this radar about phoniness that unlike anybody else, like you guys can sense when there's a phony in the room and you don't like them. And you also don't like anybody who is leading the organization and looking for the spotlight
Amen.
themselves. And he does not do that. He deflects praise. There was a question I think Hannah Mears asked in a post game show just the other day. I was listening to it, maybe on the way to the airport, and she mentioned that some people like to call. Oh, yeah, because he had the Jake Mangum, the Billy Cook, the bunts, the stealing bases, and she said some people are calling that Donnie Ball. Do you like that? And he totally deflected that and basically said, I just like winning every day and people contributing. And that is so perfect. And that's when you have a bunch of players that realize that and see how real and sincere he is, they want to fight for him. And that's what they're doing. I think going back to the comparison unfairly, Chuck Tanner, Jim Leland, Stephen, you said that he's going to be tough. You may not see it openly, but he'll do it behind closed doors. I know the stories. I've heard them going back to his bench coach days not too long ago when he would
Yep.
air out a player, not out in public, but I know he did on more than one occasion. And man, when he gets mad, he gets his Irish up, as we Irishmen say it. In fact, but one of my favorite sayings is from an old Irish poet: "Beware the ire of a patient man. No, beware the fury of a patient man. Beware the
Michael
fury of a
McKenry. Yep.
patient man." And uh, that's just perfect for this Irishman. Uh, Bob Walk, you'll have to, if you haven't had him on your podcast, but you have to ask him uh, because I loved talking to him about different managers for whom he played. He played for both Jim Leland and Chuck Tanner. And I would say, Chuck, from what I saw and what I knew, it was all smiley and happy and everything is great. Oh, we're good. The 10-game losing streak. Oh, we're good. Uh, he said, no, Chuck was not like that. He said, in fact, there was one time and I'll mess up the story, but you'll get the point. One time Bob was on the mound and the Pirates had a substantial lead. He's starting in second inning and he's starting to look for strikeouts maybe and walks one guy, walks a next, falls behind another guy. Chuck calls timeout, walks out there with a big smile, and he puts his arm on Bob's shoulder. And he said, the bone, the collarbone, he said, there's a spot. And Chuck was a strong guy. He had big, strong hands. He said, as he's talking to Bob with his hand on the shoulder and nodding and saying stuff, he's digging his thumb deep underneath his collarbone, squeezing it. And Bob wanted to scream, it hurt so badly. And he's saying, you're going to start throwing strikes now, aren't you, Bob? Because we've got a big lead here. And he's standing there smiling. And Bob's going, yes, Chuck, yes. Okay, go get him. And he said, I wanted to cry. It was so painful. But that's what Chuck was like. And to me, that kind of epitomizes Donnie Kelly.
And real quick, Brownie, we'll probably wrap it up after this. But so you also say, and I think Donnie's epitome of this because he always gives the players the credit. He never says, oh, the coaching staff. He says, no, he did the work. He put in the time. And I love that. But you always say something to me that I hold near and dear is nothing great's built without enthusiasm. Walt Whitman. It's one of my favorite quotes now because of you. And he allows that on the bench. He's an emotional guy. He stays steady when things aren't going good, but when things go well, he jumps off the bench. He jumps over the fencing and railing and smacks it. And I love that about him because as players, you feel that. But one thing he did, and you guys, I get pushback all the time. I think identity creates culture. And he did that in spring training day one. He didn't have to say winning. He didn't have to say grit, fortitude. He said Pittsburgh. And Brownie, I know how much you love this city. We've talked about it time and time again. If you embrace this city, it'll embrace you. He is the city. He was born here. He's got metal in his veins. So the reality of it is, when he made that speech, I said, oh, snap. This is different, because you could see the guy's eyes. You could see him just locked in. And I would say 99% of the time, the social media team never even gets the guys because they don't want to see them going, right?
No question.
Speech. I mean, but that was the different moment for me that said Donnie just elevated because they didn't just respect him. I think the whole city said, okay, this is our team. This is our team, not the football team, not the hockey team. It's a baseball team. It's a baseball town. And he said it straightforward. We're going to embrace the city. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be awesome. So just talk a little bit about that, because that's, for me, the link that we have that most places don't, because we've seen what happens when we win. But when you embrace the city and they're behind you early on and they have expectations, it's different.
Well, you're big on identity. I get it. I think you said identity creates culture. I would argue it's culture that then creates identity. And then he set the culture. He set the tone. He set the tone with that. He set the tone when he took over in the first week of May last year. That's why, suddenly the Pirates did not put that interim tag on there. He wasn't going anywhere.
Right.
I mean, he was embraced by the GM and the owner, because the owner understood what this meant and how important this was. And you're right, Fort, that social media never shows the players because they don't want to see the snoring, the jaw dropping. In this case, they could have seen the jaw dropping, but it was because they were in awe of what this real Pittsburgher was saying from the heart. And they all talked about it afterward, that, man, like, they wanted to go run through the brick wall for this guy. And I go back to Paul Skeens in the offseason in the winter when he was named Cy Young Award winner. I don't know if either one of you was on the Zoom call. I happened to be on it just to listen to the Pittsburgh writers asking questions. But then they talked about the offseason, and Donnie had been named coach, and we're looking for coaching changes. I think they had already brought in Bill Murphy. But he said, we need people in this organization who care about the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's what Paul Skeens said. He gets it because it is so different. I mean, I've preached this forever. This Bucs Bounty podcast, look who's hosting it. I've said this forever. It's Stephen Brault and Michael McKenry. I have preached this to the mountaintops. I don't care how bad we've been. And I've been a part of, this is 33 years and 28 of them, something like that. 28 of the first 32. Yeah, I think that's right. 28 of the 32 have been losing years. But throughout the 28 years, no matter how bad the team has been, we have had players, good players, players who care, who still, and they may not have spent more than a year, a month with the Pirates. I could call any one of them. They would jump on a plane and get back to Pittsburgh to participate in something. Fantasy camp. You guys are making your home in Pittsburgh. Why? Stephen Brault, Michael McKenry, you both played for other organizations. You were drafted by other organizations. You decide to make Pittsburgh your home. Bucs Bounty, you decide to dive into this. There's something in the water. There's something about Pittsburgh there's something about the black and gold and wearing that uniform. That's why I love anybody that wore a Pirate uniform, the black and gold. I want some kind of a black and gold pass that any player that ever put on a Pirate uniform has in his wallet. And it takes him to PNC Park, and he walks in there like a VIP. That
I love that.
to me that's how we embrace former Pirates, because they embrace us. Again, I don't care what the record has been. We've had great players despite the wins and the losses, and great people. And I think you two are great examples of it.
Oh
Thank you.
man, thank you, Greg. That
Love
means a
you.
lot.
Mean it.
That's
It
the
is.
truth. That's the
It
truth.
does
I think
show a
it's
lot.
something wild.
It is.
To my knowledge, no other team has this. It's amazing. I think it's because of the incredible history of the team. It's unmatched in all of sports. I think there are two teams, I believe, in all of the North American sports that can boast a longer relationship with its league to a city. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the small town, big city vibe of Pittsburgh. Whatever it is, there's something to it. I guess we don't have to figure it out. Just embrace it, and I just love it. I think it's so cool.
That is
Nailed it.
absolutely true, and a perfect way to end this podcast. Greg, I mean, thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining us and going with us the full hour. We appreciate everybody listening. You can watch us on YouTube at SportsNet Pittsburgh, or listen to us anywhere you get your podcast. Please like,
Okay, but
follow,
before we leave,
subscribe. You like that?
I'm sorry. Before we leave, can we do like a Brady Bunch thing where I look at you and you look at me? How do we do that? Steven, you
Which
look
way do I
no,
have to
you're
look? I
other
have to
way,
look
other
this
way.
way.
Steven, and I'll go this way. Does that work? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
All
guys
right.
for joining us. Oh my God. And we will see you next week on Bucs Bounty. And please don't have bad dreams from Michael.